So in this video, I just want to do a basic overview of what is boondocking, and then I'm going to show you what I bring in my boondocking kit, so to speak. It's the things I don't want to be out in the middle of nowhere without. Hey y'all, RoamTownGirl here, coming to you from my latest boondocking site. And as promised, this is going to be my introduction to boondocking for beginners, of which I consider myself. If you're new to my channel, thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you have a good time and that you'll keep coming back over and over again. And for those long-time watchers, mwah, thank you so much for your support. You know how much I appreciate each and every one of you. You're gonna hear a lot of synonyms for boondocking. You might hear boondocking, dry camping, primitive camping, free camping, BLM camping, Forest Service road camping, Corps of Engineer camping. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. And there's mooch docking, which I'll slip that one in as well. So when I say boondocking, what I'm referring to is going somewhere where you can camp for free and you have to be completely self-contained because there are no services. When I think about being in campgrounds, I think of that as primitive camping. And when I go to a parking lot, I think of that as dry camping. And then of course there's mooch docking, which means that some lovely friend or family has graciously allowed you to park your vehicle in the front of their house or driveway, and maybe even pull a little power from their garage, and maybe even pull a little water from their garden hose. But those last two things aren't always guaranteed. Basically, those are all forms of camping that are free and that you have absolutely no amenities available to you. So you have to be completely self-contained, meaning you're going to need to be able to take care of your temperature control. So if it's hot, how are you going to cool off? If it's cold, how are you going to warm up? You want to make sure that you've got what you need to go to the bathroom. Of course, in an RV, it's going to be slightly different than if you're car or tent camping. You want to make sure that you've got enough water. That's a pretty big one. Water to drink, water to cook, water to wash. You're going to need power, whether that be solar power, generator power, or I guess in cars you would even have 12-volt power. You got to think about pack it in, pack it out. So you've got to have a strategy for your trash. Now the reason I'm doing this series is I imagine there's lots of folks out there like me who may know how to boondock already, meaning you're capable of camping for up to 2 weeks and being completely self-contained and taking care of the general things you need to be comfortable. However, when it comes to finding a location, knowing what to expect, if you're gonna fit, if you're gonna make it down the road, if you're gonna have cell service, all of these things cause me great anxiety. So there's definitely things like Campendium, iOverlander, or is it just Overlander? I think it's iOverlander. I don't use that one, can you tell? There's articles, and then joining lots of groups on Facebook and collecting information. And I'm sure there's books out there, but word of mouth is really gonna be your best bet. And for the rest of my series, I will be peppering them each with more boondocking tips, but they're primarily gonna be showing you sites that I found and showing you around, so that if you choose to go there, at least you'll know what to expect. I'm a big fan of leaning into things. So when I first was introduced to the concept of the RV lifestyle, what I did was rented an RV. That way I knew I could go see if I could drive the thing, if I could do the basics like dumping tanks and filling water and such. And I also structured my first experience so that I did some boondocking and I did some RV park camping, so that I got a taste of both of those. Now, although I had boondocked before in Scout, my previous RV, I hadn't done so in Romeo Fancy Pants here. So when I first got him, true to my philosophy, what I did was I found an RV park in Quartzsite that just so happened to be right in the middle of the BLM land. That part wasn't so critical, but it was sort of a nice little add-on. And I sat in there and I didn't hook up to anything. Now, mind you, I had quite a few people notice and kind of come over at different points in time and inquire why I wasn't connected to power. Did I know I had power? Did I know there was water? Did I know there was a sewer, outlet? But what I wanted to do was make sure that everything I needed when I was in the middle of nowhere was gonna function correctly. And just in case there was any problem, I wanted to know that I could just plug in and have power. I could just dump my tanks, or I could just fill my water. So once I'd put this guy through the paces, I identified any of the little problems I had, resolved them, and then I felt way more comfortable taking him in the middle of nowhere and knowing I was gonna be okay. Try to think in 2-week intervals. 2 weeks is generally how long you can stay on public lands before you have to move. And so I try to have 2 weeks worth of underwear, socks, enough clothes, certainly water, sheets, towels, basically anything that you're gonna need to take to the laundry. I try to have enough of that to make it for 14 days. Now in a pinch, I have my little Panda washing machine. I haven't used it yet, but if I ever needed to, I certainly can wring out some t-shirts and underwear. Yay! When I first get to a site, one of the first things I want to know is, what is the sun gonna do? Because that's gonna help me determine which way to park the RV. Because what happens is, you could arrive someplace and depending on the time of day, you're not exactly sure what happened earlier in the day, or if you're earlier in the day, you're not sure what's gonna happen later in the day. As well as a lot of time it can be overcast, cloudy, rainy, then you really don't know what the sun's doing. I like to get the morning sun on my passenger side where I set up the pen for the dogs. Morning sun helps warm things up in the morning, especially if you're in a place that's cool like I am right now. And then in the afternoon when the sun goes on the other side, this side will go into shade and it makes it really nice to be outside, especially for the dogs in their pen. So I find it helpful to just keep a little compass up in the front with me, and that way I can make sure that I point the RV north and south. So let's talk about power. I've got an outboard generator, a portable generator, a solar generator, and solar panels, and a 12-volt cord. And with all those things, I can pretty much keep everything going. I can run my microwave when I need to. I can power up the solar generator so I can use it overnight. I power up the coach batteries, which allows me to use the 12-volt overnight. And I have these wonderful little lights from Harbor Freight. Not that I need them. I could just use the lighting inside the RV. But if you don't have to, then why bother? I get more than enough light out of these guys. In fact, let me tell you a little story about these little guys from Harbor Freight. So I was in a RV park, and there was this horrible smell in the RV. I didn't know what it was. I didn't like it. Come to find out, my gray tank was full and it had backed up a bit into the shower. So what I was smelling was the detergent, the enzymes that I put into my gray tank. It's like a strong chemical smell. There was no way I was going to be able to sleep all night with that smell. So I really needed to drain the gray tank. And I was hooked up, but it was like black as night. And of course, I'm afraid of monsters, and I was very scared to go outside. But it became a choice between trying to sleep with that odor or draining off the gray tank, which meant facing my fears outside. So I decided to take one of my little lights, and I just took it on the far side of the RV and I set it down on the ground, and it was so bright that I wasn't even afraid to be out there. So I quickly drained off some of the gray tank, everything went down, and I was able to sleep that night. but pretty amazing how powerful that little light was. So it works great inside the RV at nighttime to either light up the main salon area or light up the bathroom or to light up the bedroom. And that way I'm not really using any of the energy from my coach batteries. Now, being that I have a newer RV, I've got an onboard generator. But just because I have a generator does not mean I like to use it. In fact, I hate generators, including my own. And I have been having such a lovely time at my current location, mostly because nobody's running generators. I can't tell you, it makes the biggest difference in the world. For instance, I just run mine when I'm making something in the microwave, or maybe it's wash my hair day and I have to blow dry my hair, but I really run it as little as possible and for shortest time as possible. Even on overcast days when my solar is suffering a little bit, I really don't like to run it more than an hour. And there really isn't an excuse, because even things like overnight CPAP machines, I know people can charge them up and have little generators for a couple $100 that will do the trick. Here's a little story about how much I hate generators, including my own. So one day I was camping somewhere and somebody was running their generator, and oh, I just can't stand that noise. For me, it's like just a couple below like nails on a chalkboard. It was the middle of the day, so fair game, you're allowed to do that. A little while later, I get up to go do something in the kitchen, and I come to notice that it was my generator. I had turned it on to make a cup of tea and totally forgot to turn it off. So all that time, I was torturing myself. But it does bring to light that I am an equal opportunity generator noise hater. I even don't like my own. So I'd like to sort of seed a new type of thinking about being out here on public lands, which is, how about you remember that this isn't your own backyard, that it's communal, that there are other people around, and the things that you do, like running generators, being loud, blasting your music, that impacts everybody around you. And I don't know, I really think you should contain your noise to your own space to the best of your ability. I just think it's gotten out of control and something needs to be said. So I'm saying it. So I hope you can appreciate my perspective. Please don't unsubscribe. If you're getting lots of value out of this video, would you be sure and give me a thumbs up? It's supposed to help the algorithm and let them know that maybe more and more people would like to watch this video. I need all the help I can get growing this channel. For cooling down, I do have an AC. I really wouldn't run it 24/7, although I think you can if you had to. But for at night especially, I have little fans, and they're just USB. And so they're, they keep the air flowing. Plus I've got 3 ceiling fans, so I can create airflow. I can actually set one to be sucking air in and another one to be taking air out, and it creates a nice little flow day or night. For heat, I do have a furnace, but for those of you with RVs and trailers, furnaces are just terribly inefficient. They will blow through your propane so fast. So I have a wave heater. The reason I chose a wave over, say, like a little buddy, is the wave says on the box that it is safe for indoor use as long as you crack a window and vent the air. So I, being of such high anxiety, feel much safer with my little wave. They come in different sizes, and as I found, I had a wave 3 for Scout, who was smaller than Romeo here. I upgraded to a wave 8 or 6, but I went bigger, and I couldn't use it because I couldn't find clearance. Because one of the things that the wave does is it radiates to the side and it radiates upwards. So you've got to make sure wherever you put it that it's not going to catch anything beside it on fire or above it on fire. And with the larger size, I did not have a place to safely put it. So I still use my wave 3. It does the trick. I just either move it into the front salon when I'm sitting up in the front and it's cold, or I move it to the bedroom at night when it's cold overnight. Love that thing. And since I do have the cargo carrier on the back, I do have an extra canister of propane. So if for some reason I were to run out of propane, I have the ability to connect that to the RV and keep on going for a few more days. So let's talk about water. I currently travel with 4 3-gallon water jugs, and that way I can just add them to my water tank and keep going. So I tend to empty my water tank but not fill up my gray tank, and that way I still have more room to add another 12 gallons, and that helps a lot. I'm also very careful with my water usage, so a lot of using vinegar to clean dishes. I use a camping shower to shower because it uses way less water, so that way I can shower more, use less water, and stay out here longer. Works for me. Let's talk about tanks. My limitation in Romeo Fancy Pants is the black tank. I have no idea why, but my black tank cannot quite make it to 14 days. It starts doing this gross thing called burping. I explained that in another video. I'm gonna spare you all the details. Just needless to say, there comes a point where your black tank says, I can't take any more. And mine does that at around 11 days, maybe 12 if I'm really conservative. So that's as long as I can stay out here, because I don't have a workaround for offloading black tank. I don't have one of those, portables. I don't have a way to pull it. Anyway, I just take my lumps, and when the black tank is full, I am done boondocking at any particular site. For my gray tank, a little bit different. I do travel with a 5-gallon Sparklets bottle. I keep it on the back rack, and I have a way of offloading 5 gallons of gray water. So if I'm ever in a situation where the gray tank gets full, but I'm not quite ready to leave and my black tank is still okay, I can offload 5 gallons of gray water, and then when I do get someplace I can dump that. And I have a video about that, and I'll put the link up in the corner for you if you want to see that one. For trash, I have one of those galvanized little trash cans, and I think they're really meant for ashes, but I find them perfect for 2 weeks worth of trash. So I'm very careful, and I smoosh everything down, and that way I feel like I don't think I'm attracting critters. I mean, I know you can hang things up in a tree, but I don't know. That just seems to me that it still could attract unwanted visitors. Speaking of critters, one of the things I try really hard to avoid is getting a mouse in my house, which in Scout, I basically got 1 mouse a year. So far in Romeo, none. And perhaps it's because now I use blinking solar rope lights. I put them all around the perimeter of the RV. They charge up during the day with the solar, and then at night I put the blinking one on, and that's supposed to deter nocturnal rodents. And so far so good. I have to admit, I used to think people who put those lights out were the biggest a-holes. I'm like, what the hell do we need to see all your lights for? Again, it's like visual noise, where the generator is auditory noise. But then when I learned what they're for, I totally had a change of heart and completely understand, because you don't want to pick up rodents in your RV. So a little bit of ground light to keep those guys away, I think it's totally worth it. Well, I hope you found this video helpful and maybe even learned a few things you didn't know before. If so, you can tell me about it in the comments below. I love to hear what you have to say. So if you had a good time hanging out with me today and you want to do it again, it's really easy. All you got to do is hit that subscribe button and also the bell notification, and that way you'll know the next time I post another video. Okay, it's lunchtime. Gotta go make something in the microwave and run my generator. See you next time.